It's been a long time coming, but we finally have the news that we have been waiting for, and it is that Sam has been found not guilty for his actions at last season's Las Vegas Grand Prix. During the Vegas Grand Prix last season, Mark Davis, a McLaren employee, had put out a grievance to state that Sam had assaulted him after the Grand Prix. After the Vegas Grand Prix, Sam was very angry for many different reasons, as things were just not working out with the team throughout the course of the second half of the season, and Mark Davis had put in a grievance and said that Sam had hit him at the back of the garage after that weekend. Now, it has been found out by external investigators that Mark Davis was not hit by Sam after that Grand Prix weekend. But why is it that external investigators had to come in and close this case, rather than just McLaren launching their own internal investigation, coming up with the conclusion, and then saying job done to their findings? Well, this is why it got a little bit interesting. An unnamed McLaren mechanic actually stole the CCTV footage from the back of the garage after the Vegas Grand Prix weekend. This is why, when McLaren launched their initial internal investigation, they had nothing to go by because that piece of footage was not available to them. And that's the first thing that McLaren were trying to look at and didn't get any information on that. To try and make it a little bit more believable, this unnamed McLaren mechanic not only took away the CCTV footage from the back of the garage, but took away the CCTV footage from the whole McLaren garage, to try and make it seem as if there was some sort of CCTV failure within the garage. This is obviously no longer the case, and the external investigators managed to find out more about this, and this is why it's taken this long. What has actually happened is that Sam was angry after the Vegas Grand Prix. He went to the back of the garage, and while he was still very hot-headed over the Grand Prix, it was actually Mark that went for Sam in an effort to, what he called in quotes, calm him down. Sam, as he saw the hand being forced towards him, pushed the hand away from, which was actually Mark Davis at that point, which then obviously led to multiple other McLaren mechanics and team members coming into play to make sure that nothing else happened. So realistically, it was just a hot-headed moment, but it was clear that the intentions from Mark Davis post this was to try and get things to go his way, and unfortunately, it now seems that they haven't. Now, while the case on Sam's side is all good and that he has been found not guilty for his actions, this is still not the end of the issues, as of course they now need to find out why this was Mark Davis's intentions. Was this something planned from Mark Davis, understanding that Sam was vulnerable because he was in a very bad mindset at that point, and who is the unnamed mechanic that stole the CCTV footage from not only the back of the garage, but also the whole of the McLaren garage at that Grand Prix weekend? Why did he steal the CCTV footage, and why did he help or try and help Mark Davis in removing that footage to try and make his story a lot more believable? There is still a lot to go with regards to this story, and we'll try and uncover as much as we can as soon as we get it. Taking a look at the race news heading into the weekend, it was Ferrari and Porsche that were fastest in practice going into the Spanish Grand Prix. But it's not all rosy for Porsche, as there are worries for the team as their race pace during the practice sessions was slower than Ferrari and Audi. So while they've managed to get themselves a quick car in qualifying simulation runs, they definitely have some work to do in race trims, and if they can't get that sorted here at Barcelona, they'll get exposed. Aston Martin have been struggling with rear grip all weekend long. They've been struggling to get the rear planted to the ground, and they are struggling in traction zones in some key areas. This may end up causing them a problem throughout the course of the weekend unless they can find a way to get it under the control. Now, Mercedes are happy with their car going into the Spanish Grand Prix, which is a positive sign for the Brackley-based team. They had a horrific Italian Grand Prix last time out, as their biggest weakness was exposed, being that their car is too draggy and not quick enough in a straight line. But here at the circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, where there's not so much of a reliance on just pure straight line speed, it's definitely giving them a better trajectory going into the weekend. And unfortunately, that trajectory is not going to go in the right direction for Jaguar. As Fernando Alonso has put it, the team have gone back to normal with a slower car. It's quite clear that the Jaguar is a rapid car when set up for pure low downforce configuration, but on these type of tracks where there's more downforce required, that's where the Jaguar just just doesn't have it compared to the rest of the competition. Fernando Alonso, unfortunately, doesn't expect a miracle weekend like they had last time out. But let's try and see who's going to finish where and qualify where, as it's time for qualifying and the race for the Spanish Grand Prix. Yo, what's going on, guys? It is Foxydude here, and welcome back to a brand new video and another episode of the F1 journey for you guys today here on the channel. We are here for the Spanish Grand Prix. If you guys end up enjoying today's video, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well. And let's get straight into the action then for qualifying here for the Spanish Grand Prix. As you would have seen in the race news, things have not been looking brilliant for myself this weekend. Definitely been struggling around this track, but we've got to try and put it together and get the best possible lap time on the boards here. So our banker lap was a 1 minute 9.7, so we crossed the line and set a 1 minute 9.2 to get a better lap time on the board and a lot more representative, but there's obviously going to be some time to find, so we're going to need to try and see if we can exploit that. So we're going into our final qualifying run, and it was definitely suboptimal. As we start our lap here, Lewis Hamilton on the minimap is also right behind us as well, so we haven't really timed this one to perfection, but we're just going to have to give it a go and hope that things don't go completely pear-shaped. But we gained around about 0.4 of a second in the first few corners, but unfortunately, going through turn 3, I actually lost a lot of that time, but we still went purple through the first sector. We've been going purple quite a lot in Sector 1 throughout the course of the weekend. It's this section of the lap here where the lap time starts to drop away from us. But so far, so good. We found ourselves 0.4, but this is what I was worried about here. Lewis Hamilton is now picking up the pace here, and for some reason, he just didn't back off when I was in front of him, and I never overtook him to get into my position. So right now, I'm a little bit concerned about Hamilton being there, but we're still 0.4 up as we go in towards the new turn 10, and it's a little bit wide from ourselves here. Hamilton then trying to come through, compromises our line, and already now both of our lap times have been screwed over here because Hamilton's cost me by trying to overtake me, Hamilton's cost himself by going through there, and unfortunately for us, it is going to be a small improvement, but not a great one. It's race day for the Spanish Grand Prix, and let's have a look and see where everybody's going to be starting for today's race. It's a complete flip from the Italian Grand Prix, as it's the two Porsche cars leading the two Ferraris on the front two rows of the grid. It's Charles Leclerc that takes pole here in Spain with a 1 minute 8.118, and he beat Lando Norris by 0.2 of a second, just under, to qualify on the front row. Reese starts third for the second Porsche car, 2.5 tenths back from his teammate, with Sam out-qualifying Carlos Sainz due to the fact that he set his lap time first, as both of them set a lap time that was just over 0.2 of a second off of pole. Max Verstappen starts 6th for Audi, 0.3 of a second off the pace, with Kimi Antonelli in P7 for Mercedes. George Russell is the best placed McLaren qualifier, starting 8th with a lap time just over 0.4 of a second from Charles Leclerc, 1/1000th of a second clear of Oscar Piastri in the Aston Martin. Sebastian Vettel leads his teammate Sergio Perez. It's P10 and P11 for the two Red Bull cars, with Lewis Hamilton P13 just in P12, should I say, sorry, ahead of Valtteri Bottas, who's in P13. The gap's super close between Perez, Hamilton and Bottas, all separated by just 0.4 of a second. Alex Albon is the best placed Jaguar driver, 0.6 of a second shy of pole position, with Daniel Ricciardo down in P15, and it's Liam Lawson in P16. It's another bad qualifying session for ourselves, only good enough for P17, basically a second off the pace of Charles Leclerc, with Pierre Gasly in 18th for the other Renault car. It's Ollie Bearman and Stoffel Vandoorne, the two BMW cars, locking out the back row of the grid, with Bearman getting the best of Vandoorne. And it's time for the race for the Spanish Grand Prix. Okay, here we are then. It's time for the Grand Prix here in Barcelona, and it's going to be a one-stop strategy from the mediums to the hard compound tyres. So let's try and get this race underway and make up some places as we start from 17th on the grid. It's lights out, and away we go then. It's not a great start for us though in the slightest. A lot of wheel spin there off the line, and that's given Pierre Gasly a straight runner, so he's actually overtaken us going in towards turn 1, but we'll have a look now in towards turn 1, trying to make a few moves here down the inside. We do just that, but we lose the rear end on the curb, and we go hitting into one of the Jaguar cars there, almost spinning us around, but fortunately we're able to maintain position, and well, I say maintain position, maintain our car on the track. We don't maintain anything in terms of position. We actually lose them all, and unfortunately, so I tried to go around the outside here of Ollie Bearman, and it's getting even more chaotic now as we go down in towards turn 4 there, and we just about get the move done on Ollie Behrman and up back into P19 now in the Grand Prix, but it's not been a good start for us at all as we now make our way through the middle sector here, trying to just see if we can get ourselves a little bit more composed here, and straight away understeer there on the exit of the corner there, not working out for us now as we go down in towards the newly reshaped turn 10 or 11. I don't remember the names of the corner numbers, to be honest. All I know is that I am in P19. I can give you that number, and I can give you the number we're on, lap 1, as we now make our way through the final 2 corners, and yeah, not a great lap for us. Normally, we are good at making up some places. Oh, we get more understeer on the exit of the last corner, but we have closed up slightly to the second BMW car. So going down the straight here, Piastri, my teammate, fighting the 2 Red Bulls in front, but we're going to go down the inside there, and we just about make the move stick there, and we're up into P18 now in this Grand Prix, but it's not been a good start for us. Like I was saying, we normally gain, you know, a good 5-6 places off the line and then start to settle ourselves down, but this time around, it just wasn't meant to be. We just didn't get things going at all. Let's have a look at the race start, though, from everyone else's perspective and see how things shaped up. So first things first with ourselves here. Down towards turn 1, it was a decent lunge from ourselves, actually, in towards turn 1, but I got caught on one of the curbs there. That unsettled me to the point then when I hit the back of the Jaguar and it didn't work out there. This is on board with Reese, who did not get a good start at all. Now, the initial phase is okay. He's been overtaken by Sam, who's starting on the soft compound tyres. But as he brakes late going in towards turn 1, it then just doesn't work out for him here. He's lost out going in towards turn 1. Sainz has overtaken him here, and he's just lost out in terms of the gap behind, because that's where things go wrong. This is on board with Max Verstappen, who's also on the soft tyres. A lot of cars on the softs, actually, which worries me, because I've started on the mediums going into this race here. So Verstappen goes and tucks himself towards the inside here. He's looking constantly in that mirror to make sure no one sends it up the inside, because he's going to send it up the inside. Quite a bit of contact there between Verstappen and Carlos Sainz there, which Sainz won't be happy about. Fortunately for the 2 Audi drivers, no front wing damage, because if that was the case, that would really hurt them here. But on to lap 3 of the Grand Prix now. Lando Norris here, who started this race on the front row of the grid, is now going to make his way into the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix. It's a cracking DRS run here, but in towards turn 1, it's a 3-wide moment between Sainz, Leclerc and Sam. Who's going to come out on top between the 3 drivers? Charles Leclerc comes out on top and defends the position against Sam. But as we saw in the race news earlier on, the Porsche drivers struggling initially throughout the course of race trim, and that's something that they were worried about as they had some great qualifying pace here. But on board with us now, we need to make up some places, so we're going to send it down the inside on Pierre Gasly. Late lunge going in towards the newly reshaped hairpin there, and we're up back into our initial starting grid position. But the problem I've got is that I need to pass these set of cars in front of me, the Jaguars, the BMWs and the Renaults. There we go, I'll get there in the end, before they all lose DRS to Lewis Hamilton. So at the moment, you can see there that I think that's Lawson. Sorry, no, it's not Lawson. It's going to be Albon. As we go down the inside of Liam Lawson into turn 1. Another late lunge from us there. Nice move done. It's Albon in front here. He's just about holding on to DRS from Hamilton. If he loses it, then it's going to be a problem for us come the latter stages of this Grand Prix, because we're really struggling for pace, and I need the DRS train to keep me going here. And Sam, meanwhile, is using that DRS train to great effect, because he's just gone down the inside of his teammate Lando Norris, and we're back into situation Monza. A Ferrari 1-2 again. Ferrari really taking a great uptune in fortune. But for Sam, his race lead is going to last, well, merely a lap here, because the DRS now is very powerful down the straight. So too is for Carlos Sainz here. Sainz trying to take advantage of that. As a huge lock up there from one of the Porsche drivers. That is Reese there, I think it was, that's locked up into turn 1. Sam defends the position though from Carlos Sainz as they make their way through in towards turn 4 now. I just saw the 2 Porsche drivers going side by side there, and a huge lock up from them. Lap 6 of the Grand Prix now. We're back on board with ourselves here. Still running in 16th place, actually losing pace a little bit, but crucially, these 2 drivers in front of Ricciardo and Alex Albon are fighting hard with each other. We're trying to go around the outside of Daniel Ricciardo. That's not going to work, but we'll change it to the inside line, going in towards turn 4, down the inside. Ricciardo makes it hard, but we just about get through unscathed there, and now we're up into 15th place now. But crucially, the DRS train is still in effect in front, so while my pace is actually very, very poor, We're just about okay for the time being, as unfortunately that is Liam Lawson's engine that's just failed in the background, as we're now attacking Alex Albon down the straight here into turn 1. Albon tries to make it difficult for us, but again, that's another move done for us as we keep on making progress in this Grand Prix. No safety car, but crucially, that gap to Hamilton looking a little bit bigger than I probably would have wanted it to be. So hopefully, we haven't lost the DRS train, as that's going to be a big problem for us, as Lando Norris here is about to re-overtake Sam. Sainz now is going to, he's trying to go to the outside initially, fakes it, goes down the inside instead. Clever move from Carlos Sainz. Sam didn't see that one coming, and Sainz moves into second place at his home Grand Prix. Sainz having a great run of things. Lap 8 of the Grand Prix. There is the DRS train in front, and bad news, unfortunately. I've lost the train. I am not getting in that DRS train, unfortunately. I'm looking in my rearview mirrors, because back comes Albon down towards turn 1, but will late break it into the first corner, just about keeping it in track. Well, maybe not, but you know, ignore that. Unfortunately now looking at a very depressing and long Grand Prix, very far down the order. Lap 9 of the Grand Prix, we're back on board with the front runners here. Lando Norris leads this Grand Prix. Sam now is going to make a move for second place here, and Lando doing what he did in Monza, maintaining the gap between the drivers behind and letting them battle, as Russell there has a look at Verstappen. I think Russell actually made the move there on Max Verstappen, so Russell making up some places early on in this Grand Prix. Lap 11 now, and Sainz gets past Sam, but crucially now, their DRS fights are not costing them too much time, so they're closing back up to the fight between themselves and Lando Norris here. Back on board with Sainz now. He's got DRS again now on Norris, so Lando had some time in the lead out front with no problems, but now he's got a problem here, and that is the Spanish home hero Carlos Sainz trying to go down the inside into turn 1. Norris sees that one coming though, and there's a big train now forming behind them, but one lap later, Carlos Sainz is going to come back at Lando Norris here. Lando might have just used his battery all in the last lap to keep the position, so here comes Carlos Sainz, makes that move stick. Now, Lando Norris there, really being aggressive with his new teammate Sam, does not want him to overtake going towards turn 1, so Carlos Sainz now leads his home Grand Prix, and let's see if he can try and pull away out front. Lap 15 of the Grand Prix, back on board with myself, and things are getting quite lonely for me out here, as I've just about pulled a 1 second gap over the competitors behind me, and we're having a bad race. Unfortunately for us, we just don't have the pace right now. I will be able to, I'll tell you post, as soon as the race finishes, why things are not going well for us so far, but obviously, we've still got another stint to do now on the hard compound tyres. So anything can happen. We can try and see if we can pick up the performance. We could obviously make some changes to the front wing flap in the pit stops, so hopefully that could just try and help us out. So I've got quite a lot of understeer at the moment, especially in that first stint, so hopefully that tries to put us into play, and crucially, I won't have to bother with the guys behind me constantly nicking my DRS and breezing past me down the straight. So now we can just focus on setting some good lap times together, hoping that these guys all fight really hard and giving us an opportunity later in the race. But lap 18, Sainz retakes the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix. Russell now tries to go around the outside of Sam in towards turn 1. George Russell getting himself right in the mix here. Lando Norris is struggling a little bit. He's a bit further back now from this fight as we go back on board with Sam here, down the start-finish straight here, going in towards the first corner, has the slipstream on Sainz. Russell, though, he seems to be using a bit more of his battery, because Russell had a little look there. I think that's my teammate Piastri, actually, that's in P5 at the moment, so he's carrying the Aston Martin crew. Yeah, he is, actually. Fair play to Oscar. I don't know how he's managed to do that, because I certainly ain't got that pace. But we're back on board with Sam here, and things have flipped now after the pit window here. So first things first, Sainz is going to take the lead here, the Spanish Grand Prix. So Sainz and Sam have stayed where they were. They're in the fight. Lando has struggled a bit. There he is now in P5 in this Grand Prix. He's dropped back a little bit now from the front train. George Russell has fought his way back up into contention out in this race. So too has Max Verstappen, while the second train behind consists of Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, Kimi Antonelli, Lewis Hamilton, I think, and the 2 Porsche cars. So there's a separate set of trains now going on in this Grand Prix. We're obviously focusing on the train at the front here, but Lando is struggling further back there, and he could have done with being at the front here because his teammate Sam is going to get overtaken by George Russell. Sainz now tries to go down the inside of Sam into turn 1, but Sam is wise to that attack from Carlos Sainz and defends the position quite nicely there and stays in second place of the Grand Prix and doesn't drop too further back here. But lap 22 32 and 33. And Sam, I don't know if he's in DRS range of George Russell. He's not, so Russell's got a bit of breathing space. Sam's going to be under pressure here from not one Audi car, but two Audi cars here. And Sam now, he just about holds off the position against Verstappen. There's a fight behind, though, between Piastri and Antonelli, and they're going at it hammer and tongs down in towards turn 1. Carlos Sainz, though, has got back DRS here on George Russell. So Sainz now is trying to go for it on Russell in towards turn 1. He makes the move stick and retakes the lead of the Italian Grand Prix. They're still scrapping away further back there, having a lovely fight between themselves. Antonelli now is up into P5 in that mess that they're having up there. Now, back on with the front of the field here, and this continuous fight constantly happens in every single Grand Prix. We've got a lovely battle going on here as Lando there is breezing past Antonelli with the DRS, as Sam now goes around the outside of Sainz into turn 1, but into 2 and 3, Sainz holds back off against Sam and continues to make sure that he's the lead car to charge after the leader, even though he was overtaken by the leader. But Sam here has got a great slipstream now on Carlos Sainz going towards turn 1. Will Sam go for it? He's going to try it going towards turn 1. It's going to be a late lunge down the inside from Sam. Just caught Sainz unaware a little bit. Now going through towards 2 and 3. Can Carlos Sainz hold him off? No. Sam with a great fight there going in towards turn 1, and he gets that move back here. This is obviously personal, not only between Sam and Sainz, but also between Sam and Audi. Of course, Sam here has been fighting these Audi cars all race long here, and now he's been overtaken by Sainz. Verstappen has also now got past him into turn 1. Max Verstappen, who's been keeping himself quiet there in fourth place at the time, now moves up into third in the Spanish Grand Prix. Can he now try and make an attack here for the race win, possibly, because there's only 5 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Sainz is trying to go for it down and towards turn 1 on Russell, but Verstappen now tries to fight his own teammate Sainz here, who wants to win this Grand Prix. It's his home race, as I've said about 50 times now. He will want to do it in front of the Spanish home crowd, and he just fends off Max Verstappen as they breathe now down the start finish straight here. Here comes Carlos Sainz, lap 29 of 33. Down the inside goes Carlos Sainz to lead the Spanish Grand Prix, but a lock up there from Sainz. That's not going to do him any favours because Russell goes through. Verstappen now is up into second place. A costly mistake there for Carlos Sainz, but there is still 3 laps to go in this Spanish Grand Prix, so anything can happen. But now it is Max Verstappen who's the contender to try and take the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix, and he does do that. He now leads ahead of George Russell, but who's it? Carlos Sainz there is trying to get in on the mix. Lando Norris now is back in the fight after having a heavy scrap with Kimi Antonelli. He's now in the mix here. Antonelli's getting himself in the mix, and Reese now is in the background there trying to join in. They're all now bunching up in the final phases of this race, but Carlos Sainz now is going to try and go down the inside of Russell into turn 1. Can he make the move stick here? Russell now will defend the inside, but Sainz gets it back though, and it's an Audi 1-2 here in Barcelona, but there is still more time for drama to happen. It does, crucially, Sainz have DRS and Verstappen no, so Sainz is going to be under threat here. Russell's going to make the move stick, but now he's got 2 Ferraris pressurizing him, and Sam goes left, goes right, tries to find a way through, round the outside for Sam, into turn 1. Will he make the move stick? No, because Sainz will hold him off. Going through into turn 2. That's a critical one for Carlos Sainz. 1 more lap to go. Russell, no DRS on this straight. Sainz has got the DRS down towards turn 1. Verstappen still leads. Sainz, though, goes through into turn 1. Second place for Carlos Sainz, and they've got 1 lap now to hold on to a 1-2 finish. And you know what? That's what they do. From being kicked out of the Ferrari team to joining Audi in his second race for the team, Max Verstappen wins the Spanish Grand Prix ahead of Carlos Sainz. As for us though, well, that's not quite how you take that corner, unfortunately. As for us, well, we're currently in P13, and unfortunately, it's going to stay P13. Round the final corner we go, even more understeer now, picking up on the back of the car, and we cross the start-finish line to end a horrific Grand Prix for us, where we had no pace whatsoever. But we'll concentrate on ourselves later, because right now the focus is on Audi. They have done it. They've got a 1-2 finish here today, and did they deserve it? They really fought well as a team, and for Max Verstappen, he played that perfectly. Carlos Sainz was doing all the fighting at the front of the field. Verstappen was very calm and collected and picked his moments perfectly. He overtook Sam when Carlos Sainz made the move. Verstappen carefully picked out when to make the move and got it done on the man that took his seat. He then made the move on, the move on Carlos Sainz after Sainz failed to make the overtake on Russell. Verstappen got the overtake spot on George Russell, got himself out of DRS instantly, and then eventually, obviously, they got back into his DRS in the final part of the race. But for Verstappen, he wouldn't care less because that is all he needed to win the Grand Prix. And it's Audi's first win of the season, and it's come from Max. 7/10 of a second covered the top two at the end. And Carlos Sainz, he'll be gutted that he made that mistake in the final few laps of the Grand Prix to cost himself an opportunity of winning the race against George Russell. But it is what it is. For Russell, though, a brilliant Grand Prix for him and the McLaren. They weren't really in the mix, to be honest, at all. But Russell got himself in the mix in that second stint and kept in the mix throughout the course of that second stint. And credit where it's due to him, he put in a brilliant performance and gets a well-deserved podium. Then it's the two Ferraris of Sam and Lando Norris. Now for Sam, he did everything he could. He battled hard, he was at the front of the field fighting basically all race long with Sam. For Lando, something didn't work in the pit stop, whether he got held in the pits or anything like that, I'm not too sure. But it meant that he got caught in a fight between my teammate and also Kimi Antonelli for a lot of the race. And eventually, he finally managed to clear them from DRS and then come and close up to the back of the crew. But it was just too late for him. So P5 is all he could get. Starting from the front row of the grid is not that great. Kimi Antonelli, though, P6, great result for him and the Mercedes team. They needed to get some points on the board, and that's what they've done. 2.3 seconds off as the checkered flag fell. As for Reese, not a great race for Porsche. To be honest, it was. I'll talk about Charles Leclerc as well, because you can see that he's not in the top 10, and there's a reason for that. But Reese's race was very bad. He started, I think he was P3 on the grid, got a bad start as we saw, didn't really have a great pace in the first stint. He then started to gain it back a bit, but then he locked up, similar to what Sainz did, into turn 1, and it just didn't transpire from him from then on in. It's just a messy race for him, and crucial, actually, because, of course, we didn't score points again this weekend, and Reese is our closest championship rival, so thank God that Reese didn't have a cracking race, otherwise that could have been even more damaging for us. Lewis Hamilton finishes in P8. It's kind of a what-if for Lewis Hamilton, because in qualifying, obviously, we held him up massively, there's no doubt about that. And I just feel like, what if, when I slowed down, Hamilton actually overtook me before I was running out of time to actually get a qualifying lap in? Because I feel like he would have been able to have qualified a lot higher and potentially finished a lot higher. But he finishes 6.3 seconds off in the end and just about beats Sebastian Vettel by 0.2 of a second to the checkered flag, with Sergio Perez picking up the final points paying position for Red Bull. Let's have a look at the second half of the table now, and Oscar Piastri finished in P11 in the end, was unable to score points this weekend, and ahead of Charles Leclerc, who finished in P12. Now for Charles Leclerc, it was reported on the radio whilst I was just in my lonely, boring second stint of the race, that he had an issue with his car. So something went wrong, I think mechanical, and he lost a lot of pace. So obviously an engine issue caused him to slow right down, and we were catching him quite rapidly until my final few corners on the last lap, where I ended up just not having any pace at all and sliding everywhere. So for Leclerc, not an ideal way for him to finish the race after starting from pole position as well. For me, it's an unlucky P13. We obviously benefited because Bottas and DNF'd at some point in the race. Obviously Lawson DNF'd as well. For me, what went wrong? It was my setup that went wrong. I had way too little downforce on the car for what the track needed and required. Now, when I do these F1 Journey races, to make it as evenly balanced as possible, I sort of put a bit of a trade-off. I run with regular corner cutting. I don't like strict corner cutting. I don't think it's kind of fun and annoying, so I run with regular corner cutting, which does mean in the races there are points which you would have seen, like the overtake on Gasly, I want to say it was, and some other points where I do go all four wheels off the track, and sometimes it'll give you a warning depending on the sort of area of the track, and sometimes it doesn't. But to counter that, I don't do any practice for these race weekends. I literally just load up the race that's next to go, and I will do my recording. That is it. I won't practice, I'll do nothing, and I don't do any setup work either. You know, I have Parc Fermé on, so when I go out for qualifying, That's it. Like, I just basically guessed the setups. And obviously, because I have a car, or these car configurations are completely different to real life F1, for me, I thought, oh, because they're so fast through the corners and they're so fast, you know, just in general, I can just put a bit more straight line speed on to be quicker on the 2 straights. That was the wrong way to go. I should have put a lot more downforce on the car. It definitely would have helped me, because even though I was quick in a straight line, when I was battling, like you saw Albon, I think it was, he obviously breezed past me on a straight, so it would have made no difference, and I still would have had pace through the corners. So big mistake there, got the setup completely wrong, and it bit me very, very hard. So lesson learnt for that is to be a lot more realistic when it comes to making these setups for the weekends. Daniel Ricciardo finishes in 14th for Renault, ahead of Van Dorn in P15 for BMW. Alex Albon 16th for Jaguar, ahead of Ollie Behrman, who finishes in 17th, and Pierre Gasly was the final driver to be classified for the Spanish Grand Prix, as Bottas and Lawson could not get to the checkered flag. As for Carlos Sainz, the only little bit of saving grace that he gets after the Spanish Grand Prix is that he did get the fastest lap of a 1 minute 10.450, so an extra point going to him. And let's see how that point helps him in the Drivers' Championship then. So you can see that we are still top of the Drivers' Championship somehow, after 2 back-to-back non-point scoring finishes, are still the championship leader, but things are closing down quite quickly. Reece is now just 14 points behind me in the Drivers' Championship on 146 points after this Grand Prix. Again, super fortunate that he had a bad race this time around, otherwise that could have been a lot worse, or he could have been the new championship leader. George Russell also cuts into the lead and is starting to get himself into some form of championship contention now. He's only 47 points back in the championship on 113 points, and the last man in the 100 points mark is Lando Norris. He's on 100 points to be exact for Ferrari, 60 points behind in the Drivers' Championship. But if things continue to sway the way that they are, all of these drivers will be getting themselves in championship contention in the next few races if I can't get my act together and set the car up correctly for the races. Charles Leclerc drops to 6th in the championship after being overtaken by Carlos Sainz. Charles Leclerc has also had the same misfortune as me, with back-to-back non-point scoring finishes. And imagine if Charles Leclerc got some point scoring finishes on the board, he'd be a lot higher up and maybe towards where Lando Norris is on 100 points. But obviously with Carlos Sainz picking up 2nd place today, he is on 87 points and jumps in front of him. They are 73 and 76 points back in the championship. Sam moves up to 7th in the championship for Ferrari on 74 points, 1 point clear of Max Verstappen, who won this race this time around. 74 points for Sam, 73 points for Verstappen. Sebastian Vettel drops down to P9 in the championship, but does add a couple of points to his tally. He's on 68 points, while Valtteri Bottas is on 63 points for McLaren. The next race is the F1 Journey Austrian Grand Prix. Traditionally, it's been a good track for me, so hopefully I can make it a good track for myself going into that race, as I need to put some points on the board. Taking a look at the Constructors' Championship, and do you want to talk about close? Well, for Porsche, not so much. They're on 230 points and are building a very, very respectable lead. But for us, though, we stay on 188 points, which is, I mean, not great, especially with after that 1-2 finish, Audi have jumped in front of McLaren and Ferrari and are now level on points with us in the championship. That's a complete twist from where we were. And only now are Audi, by being level with us, are also 42 points behind Porsche. And if Audi have now just suddenly found some form and are going to start picking up some 1-2 finishes, there's a chance, with only 42 points in it, that Audi can make some form of a push for the Constructors' Championship. As for McLaren, they're on 176 points. They dropped down to 4th in the championship now after Audi overtake them. Ferrari dropped down to 5th in the championship after, again, Audi overtook them. They're on 162 points, but it's super close in that Constructors' Championship battle. But for Porsche, they'll be glad that they've got that buffer in their back pocket. Red Bull are on 87 points, sitting quite lonely now in 6th in the championship, but they need to start watching out because Mercedes behind them are on 73 points. Only 14 points now covers those two in the championship, with Mercedes hoping to try and get some better races under their belts to make that position theirs. Renault are on 23 points in the championship ahead of Audi Jaguar on 10 points. BMW still yet to score a point. But that is it for the Spanish Grand Prix. Let's go take a look at the post-race notebook now and see what the teams and drivers had to say after this race. Taking a look at the post-race notebook after the Spanish Grand Prix, Audi fight back with a stunning 1-2 finish here in Spain as Max Verstappen wins the Spanish Grand Prix after being dropped by Ferrari, and Sainz comes across the line in P2. Speaking of Max Verstappen, he cheekily commented that he thanks Ferrari for letting him leave the team so he could show his talents in a proper car. Max Verstappen happily could take a couple of digs at his former team after Ferrari dropped him for the Italian Grand Prix last time around, and while he had a promising run to 4th in the Italian Grand Prix, this time around nothing was going to stop him from executing some perfect overtakes to take the victory here in Spain. Carlos Sainz was really angry after his mistake cost him a chance at victory after the Spanish Grand Prix. Going into turn 1, he made a move down the inside of George Russell, but locked up, and that meant that not only did Russell overtake him, but it allowed his teammate Verstappen through, who then came and overtook Russell to take the win here in Spain. And Reese knows that he's failed to maximise his races with Tom's poor run of form. So far in the last 2 races, Tom has not scored 8 points with back-to-back pointless finishes, but Reese in the Porsche has not maximised his races to take full advantage of that, meaning going into the Austrian Grand Prix next time around, Tom still carries a 14-point lead in his favour. But anything is up for grabs as we go into the Austrian Grand Prix. Can Aston Martin find some form? Will Porsche be able to hit back after some poor races? And can anybody stop the top 2 teams right now, which seem to be looking at Ferrari and Audi? Hope you guys have enjoyed today's video. If you have, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well. And I'll catch you guys next time for the Austrian Grand Prix. Take care all. Peace.